Hello, esteemed gentlemen. A man becomes terrifying the moment he stops fearing what everyone else worships. That line isn't philosophy, it's a warning label. Because psychologists found that the average person avoids discomfort with the same intensity they avoid physical pain. But Sigma males? They move toward the things everyone else tiptoes around like a haunted basement. While most men panic at the thought of rejection, judgment, or losing approval, the Sigma male treats those fears like expired coupons, useless, uninteresting, and definitely not worth holding on to. And that's exactly why people can't figure him out. You can't predict someone who refuses to play by the emotional rules the rest of society lives on. While everyone else is out here terrified of bad impressions, awkward silence, or even being alone for more than 5 minutes, the Sigma male is calmly sipping his water thinking, "Is this really what you people are scared of?" Today we're breaking down 12 things Sigma males aren't afraid of. Things that make most people sweat, shake, and reconsider life choices. Brace yourself, because once you see what a Sigma male is actually comfortable with, you might start questioning why the rest of the world is so dramatic. Number 1. Being alone with his dark thoughts. Most people avoid their own thoughts like they're entering a dangerous neighborhood after midnight. They keep themselves busy, distracted, overstimulated, anything to avoid hearing the uncomfortable whispers in their mind. But a Sigma male doesn't run from that internal darkness. He walks straight into it, sits down with it, and lets it talk. And that's exactly what makes him so unsettling to others. He's one of the few men who doesn't panic when the mind gets loud. He knows that ignoring the darker parts of himself doesn't make them disappear. It just makes them uncontrollable. So instead of pretending he's fine, he faces the raw, unfiltered truth of who he is. He looks at his flaws, his anger, his insecurities, his regrets, and he doesn't flinch. It's not because he enjoys the discomfort, but because he knows clarity is impossible without honesty. He doesn't decorate his mind with comforting lies. He'd rather deal with the hard truth than live inside a made-for-Instagram version of himself. This ability to sit with uncomfortable thoughts gives him a level of emotional strength most people only pretend to have. While others drown in self-avoidance, the Sigma male learns from the shadows inside him. He studies patterns, he identifies triggers, he understands why he reacts the way he does, and the more he understands himself, the harder it becomes for anyone else to manipulate him. There's also a strange calmness about it. Instead of spiraling the way most people do, he observes the chaos, like he's watching a storm through a window, close enough to feel the impact, but far enough to stay in control. And even though he carries heavy thoughts, he doesn't let them define him. He turns them into discipline, emotional intelligence, and a sharper sense of purpose. The scary part is that this self-confrontation makes him incredibly stable. People assume his silence means softness, but it's actually the confidence of a man who's already wrestled with his inner demons and didn't lose. Anyone who's comfortable in their own darkness becomes someone others can't predict, control, or intimidate. That's the Sigma's quiet advantage. And most people don't even realize they're dealing with someone who's already battled what they themselves are still running from. Number 2, watching people walk away. Most people panic when someone starts pulling away. They chase, negotiate, explain themselves, or try to fix things before the connection breaks. But a Sigma male doesn't operate from fear of abandonment. He operates from acceptance. If someone wants to leave, whether it's a friend, a partner, or even a long-time ally, he lets them go with a calmness that almost feels unreal. This isn't emotional coldness, it's emotional clarity. A Sigma male understands something most people never fully grasp. Anyone who truly belongs in your life doesn't require a tug-of-war to stay there. He's not going to bend, shrink, or twist himself just to be someone's preferred version of him. If a person walking away reveals they were only connected to the comfort he provided, not the person he truly is, then watching them exit is a kind of quiet blessing. He also knows people don't leave because he's not enough. Often they leave because they expected him to play a role he never agreed to. They wanted control, predictability, or emotional availability on their own terms. But a Sigma male isn't built to be someone's emotional vending machine. So when a departure happens, he studies it. Was it misalignment? Was it a hidden agenda finally exposing itself? Was it someone misreading his independence as disinterest? Whatever the reason, he lets the story finish without trying to rewrite it. What unsettles people most is his lack of emotional panic. They expect a fight, a meltdown, or at least a dramatic attempt to hold on. Instead, he offers silence and a door that stays open only for those who genuinely value the connection. And that silence is powerful. It reveals who cared and who simply enjoyed being catered to. This ability turns heartbreak into a filter. Instead of clinging, he upgrades. Instead of begging, he rebuilds. And instead of falling apart, he gets clearer about who deserves access to him. Watching people walk away doesn't weaken him, it sharpens him. It separates the temporary from the real, the convenient from the committed, and the noise from the people who actually matter. Number 3, making choices that are socially unrecoverable. Most people live in constant fear of making decisions that could ruin their social standing, friendships, or public image. They overthink every word, action, and move because they've been trained to value approval above everything else. A Sigma male, however, operates on a completely different level. He's not paralyzed by what society considers recoverable or acceptable. He understands that some choices, no matter how dramatic, are necessary for living life on his terms. He will make decisions that shock, confuse, or even anger everyone around him because the cost of compromise is far higher than the fallout. When a Sigma male makes a move that others would label reckless, it's never impulsive, it's intentional. He's already weighed the consequences, but his priority isn't social comfort or temporary popularity. It's alignment with his own principles, goals, and vision. To him, it's far more terrifying to live a life dictated by other people's expectations than to risk irreversibly shaking up his current world. That's what makes him so unpredictable and frightening to those who measure life by social approval. These choices can involve leaving relationships, quitting jobs, refusing opportunities, or cutting ties with influential people. Most would see these actions as social suicide, but the Sigma male sees them as a necessary purge to clear space for growth and authenticity. There's no hesitation because he doesn't measure success by applause or acceptance. He measures it by freedom, self-respect, and the ability to dictate the terms of his own life. What makes this even more intimidating is that people can't manipulate him with threats of social shame or backlash. He's already aware that the world will always judge him, and he's okay with that. While others live in fear of being irreversible, he thrives in it. Every social consequence becomes data, not a punishment, and every irreversible action becomes a step closer to a life that is unshakable, unfiltered, and unapologetically his own. Number 4, abandoning identities people hand them. Most people cling desperately to the identities handed to them by society, family, or peer groups. They hold on to labels like son, employee, friend, or partner, as if these roles define their entire existence. A Sigma male doesn't operate that way. He knows that living someone else's definition of him is the fastest path to mediocrity, frustration, and a life that feels suffocating. The moment he senses that an identity is limiting him, he abandons it, without hesitation, guilt, or apology. This isn't rebellion for show or drama, it's survival. A Sigma male understands that the world constantly tries to box men into convenient categories because it's easier to predict, manipulate, or control them that way. He refuses to comply. If society wants to label him as responsible, he won't fake responsibility to gain approval. If a group tries to define him as loyal in a conventional sense, he measures loyalty on his own terms and walks away if it doesn't fit. He doesn't care if leaving an identity makes people uncomfortable, angry, or confused. He'd rather unsettle the world than unsettle himself. Abandoning imposed identities gives him freedom that most men will never taste. He can reinvent himself constantly, step into new roles, and explore territories others are too afraid to even consider. This constant self-authoring makes him unpredictable and almost impossible to control. People try to tether him with expectations, but he slips through every attempt like water. The boldest part is how natural it feels for him. He doesn't make a performance out of his detachment or independence. It's effortless because it comes from clarity. He knows that the only identity that truly matters is the one he chooses for himself, the one that aligns with his principles, ambitions, and inner truth. Everything else is noise. This ability to abandon imposed identities quietly terrifies people because it exposes the illusions they cling to. They see him untethered and unconstrained, and it forces them to confront the chains they themselves refuse to break. In a world obsessed with labels, the Sigma male moves freely, untouchable, and profoundly alive. Number 5. Walking away from the spotlight. They earned. Most people cling desperately to recognition, praise, or the spotlight they've worked hard to earn. They measure success by applause, attention, and validation, fearing that stepping back will make them invisible or irrelevant. A Sigma male doesn't operate like that. He understands that the true measure of power and freedom isn't in who applauds you, but in who you become when no one is watching. He is not afraid to walk away from the very spotlight others chase, as if it were oxygen, even at the peak of his achievements. Walking away doesn't come from insecurity or self-doubt. It comes from mastery of priorities. A Sigma male knows that attention is fleeting, often shallow, and rarely aligned with his real goals. The people clapping may admire the performance, but they rarely understand the depth, the strategy, or the intention behind it. Staying to be admired traps him in other people's expectations. He would rather vanish silently and redirect his energy where it actually matters, whether that's building something new, sharpening his mind, or preparing for the next phase of life that nobody yet sees. This ability to walk away makes him unpredictable and unsettling to those around him. People assume that leaving a stage, position, or opportunity is weakness, when in fact it is a strategic form of strength. By stepping back, he controls the narrative without engaging in drama or manipulation. He isn't concerned with who notices, who resents him, or who misunderstands him. What matters is his own alignment, his own freedom, and the integrity of his path. The most powerful part of this choice is its quiet confidence. While the world scrambles to cling to approval and validation, the Sigma male demonstrates that detachment is a form of power itself. Walking away from the spotlight forces others to confront their obsession with recognition, while he continues to move forward on his own terms, unchained and undisturbed. In a society addicted to visibility, the Sigma male thrives in the shadows, quietly reshaping his life while everyone else chases fleeting attention. Number 6. Telling the truth. With no safety. Most people are terrified of saying the truth when it might cost them relationships, opportunities, or comfort. They sugarcoat, evade, or spin their words because being fully honest feels like stepping onto a tightrope over a pit of consequences. A Sigma male doesn't operate like that. He tells the truth without a safety net, not to shock or provoke, but because he refuses to live in a reality built on half-truths and lies. This isn't about being reckless. It's about clarity. A Sigma male understands that the world is full of people who measure loyalty by convenience and character by compliance. He doesn't adjust his words to make people comfortable. If the truth disrupts plans, shatters illusions, or challenges authority, so be it. He accepts that the fallout might be immediate and intense, but he also knows that living a compromised life is far more dangerous in the long run than a temporary confrontation. Telling the truth without a safety net requires courage most people will never understand. It means confronting hypocrisy, exposing hidden motives, and shining light on inconvenient realities. The Sigma male knows that avoidance only prolongs manipulation and dishonesty. By speaking plainly, he forces accountability, not just in others, but in himself. There's a strange kind of control in that honesty. People may not like it, but it prevents them from taking advantage of him, misreading him, or attempting to bend him to their will. This level of authenticity also makes him terrifying to those who thrive on deceit or social manipulation. They expect people to play the social game, to soften truths, to keep appearances. The Sigma male ignores all of that. He doesn't fear being judged, alienated, or even rejected because he understands that truth carries its own authority. When he speaks, people can't ignore him, even if they want to. His words have weight because they aren't filtered for approval. They're rooted in clarity, conviction, and a refusal to live a life that isn't fully his own. This is why a Sigma male's honesty is disarming, unnerving, and powerful all at once. He doesn't just tell the truth. He embodies it, and in doing so, he moves through the world untouchable by lies, drama, or the shallow expectations of others. Number 7. Starting from zero. Voluntarily. Most people live in constant fear of losing what they have built, holding on to jobs, relationships, or routines even when they no longer serve them. Stability feels safe, and uncertainty feels like failure. A Sigma male doesn't see it that way. He isn't afraid to start from zero, and sometimes he does it voluntarily. He will walk away from achievements, comfort, or positions of influence simply because they no longer align with his purpose or his vision of freedom. This isn't reckless abandon. It's strategic courage. A Sigma male understands that clinging to something just because it represents progress in the eyes of others is a trap. Fame, money, social validation, or even relationships can become cages if they begin to dictate who he must be. Starting over allows him to reset, rebuild, and redefine himself without the weight of expectation or the influence of people who measure life by conventional success. Starting from zero also gives him clarity. When stripped of labels, resources, and the illusion of security, he is forced to confront his true priorities and capabilities. Most people would panic in such a situation, scrambling to maintain appearances, yet a Sigma male finds liberation in the blank slate. Every new beginning becomes a laboratory, a place to test his resilience, intelligence, and ability to shape his world on his own terms. This fearlessness makes him profoundly unpredictable. Others can't manipulate him with promises of advancement, comfort, or approval because he isn't dependent on them. He evaluates opportunities, environments, and relationships solely on alignment with his goals, and he will discard anything, even if it took years to build, if it no longer serves his evolution. The most unsettling aspect for others is his calm in the face of what they consider disaster. While most see loss, chaos, or reset as frightening, the Sigma male sees opportunity, growth, and control. Starting from zero isn't a setback. It's a demonstration of mastery over his own life, a quiet proof that he is untethered, unstoppable, and entirely his own authority, immune to the fears that paralyze the rest of the world. Number 8. Asking the questions. Everyone avoids. Most people avoid asking the hard questions. They skirt around uncomfortable topics, avoid calling out hypocrisy, and tiptoe through conversations that might expose flaws in themselves or others. A Sigma male doesn't operate like that. He asks the questions everyone else avoids because he understands that clarity and truth are far more valuable than comfort or approval. He isn't looking to provoke drama or make enemies. He's seeking understanding, control, and a reality unfiltered by pretense. These questions can be simple, yet cutting. They expose motives, reveal inconsistencies, and dismantle illusions that most people spend their entire lives protecting. While others fear the awkward silence or the backlash that comes from digging too deep, the Sigma male moves confidently into that space. He knows that those who are threatened by his inquiries are often hiding weakness, insecurity, or deceit. Asking the questions is his way of seeing through the layers of pretense and understanding the truth of a situation before it controls him. What makes this especially unsettling is the quiet precision behind it. He doesn't ask just to hear himself speak or to assert dominance. He asks because he refuses to be manipulated by assumptions, false promises, or social facades. Every question is a probe, a way to measure people's intentions and character. While the average person avoids confrontation, he knows that confrontation with reality is the only path to genuine power. This ability also gives him leverage that most people never recognize. By asking what no one else will, he controls the flow of information, uncovers hidden agendas, and exposes vulnerabilities that others rely on to protect themselves. People may resent or fear him for it, but that doesn't matter. He isn't in the game to be liked. He's in the game to see clearly, act deliberately, and stay untouchable in a world full of uncertainty and hidden motives. The Sigma male's fearless questions unsettle and illuminate simultaneously. While everyone else avoids the discomfort, he thrives in it, using the truth he uncovers to navigate life with a level of awareness and authority most will never achieve. Number 9. Breaking traditions that don't hold up under logic. Most people treat traditions like sacred rules, following them blindly because they've been told that this is how life is supposed to be. They cling to rituals, societal norms, and inherited expectations even when they no longer make sense. A Sigma male doesn't operate on blind obedience. He examines every tradition through the lens of logic, practicality, and personal alignment. If it doesn't hold up, he breaks it without hesitation, and he does it calmly, without drama or the need for approval. This isn't rebellion for attention or to appear edgy. It's an understanding that many rules are simply social constructs designed to control behavior or maintain comfort for the majority. A Sigma male doesn't live for comfort or conformity. He lives for freedom, clarity, and purpose. If a tradition forces him into roles, obligations, or limitations that conflict with his goals or values, he walks away. He refuses to participate in the illusion of safety or honor that society wraps around outdated practices. Breaking traditions also gives him a type of power most people never notice until it's too late. While others are trapped by the fear of judgment, ridicule, or exclusion, he moves freely. He can operate in spaces that others are too afraid to enter. By refusing to follow paths that no longer serve, he exposes the arbitrary rules everyone else clings to. People who rely on conformity for status, respect, or influence suddenly realize they've underestimated someone willing to act outside their expected boundaries. The Sigma male's detachment from tradition is also quietly strategic. He doesn't need to explain himself or justify his actions. He simply makes decisions based on what works, what is rational, and what aligns with his vision. Others may call him unconventional, radical, or even dangerous, But that's the point. He isn't trying to fit in. In a world where most people fear breaking the mold, the Sigma male thrives there. Every tradition he challenges is an opportunity to sharpen his independence, claim control over his life, and demonstrate that authority doesn't come from following rules. It comes from knowing which rules are worth keeping and having the courage to discard the rest. Number 10. Letting people think they've won. Most people live in constant need to prove themselves, to correct every slight, and to defend every position. Losing, even temporarily, feels like a personal failure, and winning becomes more about appearances than strategy. A Sigma male doesn't operate like that. He lets people think they've won, even when he holds the true power, and he does it with a calmness that unnerves everyone around him. This isn't about weakness or passivity. It's a calculated choice. He understands that when someone believes they are in control, they expose their intentions, their patterns, and their vulnerabilities. By allowing them to feel victorious, he observes, learns, and gathers the information others give away in their moments of assumed dominance. He doesn't interrupt their narrative with unnecessary confrontation because he knows the value of patience and timing. True power to him isn't in the immediate victory, it's in the long game. Letting people believe they've won also protects him from unnecessary conflict. Most people escalate every disagreement because losing face is unbearable to them. A Sigma male sees that resistance often fuels chaos and drains energy without producing results. By appearing to concede, he maintains control over his own energy, focus, and strategy, while others exhaust themselves trying to assert dominance. The most unsettling aspect for those around him is that they rarely realize they've been outmaneuvered until it's too late. They think they've succeeded, but the Sigma male has quietly orchestrated the situation to his advantage, ensuring that the eventual outcome aligns with his goals, not theirs. This ability to let others feel victorious while staying in control demonstrates a level of emotional intelligence and strategic patience few possess. He doesn't need recognition, applause, or validation. He operates on his own terms, manipulating neither through arrogance nor force, but through subtle mastery of timing, perception, and human behavior. Letting people think they've won isn't weakness. It's a silent form of dominance, and it's one of the most frightening traits of a Sigma male. Number 11. Walking into rooms that hate him. Most people avoid tension, conflict, or negative energy at all costs. They hesitate to enter spaces where they know they'll be judged, resented, or outright disliked. A Sigma male doesn't think this way. He walks into rooms that hate him without flinching, not because he wants to provoke, but because he refuses to let fear dictate his movement or his life. To him, discomfort in others is a data point, not a threat, and he uses it to navigate social dynamics with a clarity that makes others uneasy. Entering hostile environments is never casual for a Sigma male. It's a deliberate act of observation and control. He watches reactions, listens to unfiltered words, and studies behavior with a level of detachment most people can't achieve. While others see hostility as danger, he sees patterns, weaknesses, and opportunities. The tension in the room doesn't destabilize him, it sharpens him. He doesn't need approval and he doesn't need to perform. This absence of fear is what makes him unpredictable and intimidating. What makes this terrifying to others is how calm he remains amid negativity. People expect discomfort to provoke defensiveness, aggression, or retreat. He shows none of it. His neutrality, even in the face of dislike or disdain, makes him appear untouchable. He doesn't fight their judgment because he doesn't measure his worth by it. He doesn't try to win them over because that would make him dependent on their perception. Instead, he exists in the room on his own terms, silently controlling what he can and ignoring what he can't. Walking into rooms that reject him also signals one critical truth. He is untethered. He isn't bound by social approval, fear of confrontation, or the need for popularity. While others bend, apologize, or retreat to avoid discomfort, he moves freely, collecting insights, maintaining composure, and turning the situation into information that others can't even see he's gathering. In a world where most are paralyzed by judgment, the Sigma male thrives in hostility, and that calm dominance is what makes him quietly terrifying. Number 12. Being the quietest person with the loudest mind. Most people feel the need to fill silence with noise, opinions, or validation. They speak to be seen, to be understood, or to prove their intelligence, but the words often reveal little about their depth. A Sigma male doesn't operate that way. He can sit in a room barely saying a word, yet his mind is constantly analyzing, calculating, and observing at a level most people will never reach. His silence isn't emptiness. It's a signal that his presence is far more complex than anyone around him can immediately grasp. This quietness is a weapon and a shield. People underestimate him because they measure presence by volume and performance. They assume someone who speaks less has less to offer, less influence, or less understanding. But the Sigma male's mind is loud with insight, strategy, and awareness. He sees patterns others overlook, reads intentions before they're revealed, and anticipates outcomes with precision. His quietness amplifies the impact of every word he does choose to speak, making it carry weight, authority, and clarity. Being the quietest person with the loudest mind also makes him unpredictable. Others rely on words to predict behavior, to manipulate, or to gauge allegiance. A Sigma male refuses to be mapped in that way. His silence creates uncertainty, tension, and curiosity. People try to interpret his thoughts, but his mind operates on levels that aren't meant to be fully accessible. This makes him untouchable in negotiations, relationships, and social dynamics. It's not about arrogance, it's about control. By observing, processing, and holding back until the right moment, he dictates the flow of energy around him without engaging in unnecessary performance. He doesn't need to dominate a room with chatter or impress with superficial knowledge. Instead, his quiet mastery allows him to absorb information, act deliberately, and emerge at the exact moment his presence has maximum effect. This combination of silence and mental intensity unsettles, fascinates, and commands respect. People may underestimate him, but they cannot ignore him. The Sigma male's mind speaks louder than words ever could, and that is a kind of power most will never learn to wield. Conclusion: the world fears what it doesn't understand, and Sigma males thrive precisely in that space. They are not shaped by the approval of others, they are not bound by conventional rules, and they do not live in the shadow of fear like the majority of people do. From staring down uncomfortable truths to walking into hostile rooms, from abandoning identities that limit them to making socially irreversible choices, Sigma males exist on a plane that most will never reach. Not because they are better, but because they refuse to bend to fear, expectation, or the pressures of conformity. Their power is quiet, their dominance subtle, and their presence unnerving precisely because it is real, unfiltered, and untouchable. They embody a freedom that the world cannot easily contain. While others obsess over what they might lose or how they might be judged, Sigma males focus on clarity, control, and alignment with their own path. They are fearless in ways most people can't even conceptualize. They embrace solitude, face their inner darkness, speak truths that would ruin most, and walk away from anything that no longer serves them. Their lives are a masterclass in independence, patience, and the kind of strategic calm that turns the ordinary into the extraordinary. Understanding Sigma males isn't about idolizing them or attempting to imitate them. It's about recognizing a form of power that doesn't shout, a strength that doesn't need validation, and a clarity that doesn't bend to social pressures. They are both a warning and a lesson, proving that fear is a choice, and mastery over oneself is the only path to genuine freedom. If you found these insights compelling, and you want to uncover more truths about the Sigma mind, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button, drop a comment below with your thoughts or experiences, and share this video with anyone who needs to understand the rare, unsettling power of a Sigma male. Stick around, because the world of Sigmas is deeper, darker, and more fascinating than most could ever imagine.